Happy birthday, Yolanda. Time to move out of your room. Those were the exact words my mother said to me on my 17th birthday. Not, happy birthday, sweetheart, or we got you something special. Just a cheerful announcement that I was being evicted from my own bedroom. My name is Yolanda, and that moment, standing in my doorway, holding a piece of grocery store cake, was when I realized my family had been planning my erasure for months. What do you mean, move out? I asked, though the sick feeling in my stomach already knew. Mum gestured toward my little brother Maximus, who was lounging on my bed like he owned it, which, apparently, he now did. Max is 16 now. He needs his own space to grow into manhood, she said, like she was reading from a parenting manual written by someone who'd never actually raised children. The garage has plenty of room for you. The garage, where we kept the broken lawnmower and boxes of Christmas decorations that hadn't seen daylight since 2003. You're joking, I said. Maximus stretched his arms behind his head and grinned. Finally, this room's way better than mine. Thanks, Mum. It's not your room, I snapped. It is now, Mum said, already walking toward my dresser. Don't be dramatic, Yolanda. You're almost 18. This will help you become more independent. Independent. Right. Because sleeping in a freezing garage with no insulation was definitely going to prepare me for adulthood. I watched her start pulling my clothes out of drawers, tossing them into garbage bags like they were donations for goodwill. My debate team trophies got shoved into a cardboard box marked Xmas Lights in faded Sharpie. Where am I supposed to study? I asked. There's a desk in the garage, she said without looking up. There's a workbench covered in paint cans. Same thing. Maximus was already claiming my bookshelf, tossing my novels onto the floor to make room for his gaming magazines. Can I get a bigger TV in here? He asked. Of course, honey. We'll get you set up properly. Properly. I'd been living in this room for 17 years, and apparently I'd never been set up properly. But Golden Boy Maximus needed everything just right. This is insane, I said. I have school, I have homework, You have an attitude, Mum cut me off. This is what families do. We make sacrifices for each other. Funny how we always seem to mean me. By dinner time, my bed was disassembled and leaning against the garage wall. My mattress was on the concrete floor, surrounded by boxes of my entire life. The space heater Mum had grudgingly provided was older than I was, and made a sound like a dying cat every time it cycled on. I sat on my displaced mattress, eating leftover birthday cake with a plastic fork, watching my breath fog in the cold air. Through the thin garage door I could hear Mum and Maximus laughing in the living room, probably watching some stupid movie on the big screen TV that I'd never been allowed to touch. My phone buzzed. A text from my friend Jessica. How was your birthday? Did you get anything good? I stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Yeah, a reality check. The space heater coughed and wheezed, then went silent. I kicked it, and it grudgingly sparked back to life. On the workbench, my new desk, I'd stacked the programming books I'd checked out from the library. HTML, JavaScript, Python. The librarian had looked surprised when I'd requested them. These are pretty advanced, she'd said. I'm a fast learner, I told her. Now, sitting in my new ice-cold bedroom, I opened the first book and started reading by the light of my phone's flashlight. If they wanted me to be independent, fine. I'd show them what independent looked like. Around midnight, I heard Mum's voice through the wall, talking on the phone to her friend Reese. I pressed my ear against the drywall. Honestly, I don't think she'll make it, Mum was saying, her voice carrying that fake concerned tone she used when she wanted to sound like a caring parent. She's always been so difficult. At least Maximus has a real chance at something. I pulled back from the wall and stared at the concrete ceiling. At least Maximus has a chance. I opened my laptop and started typing. 3 months into my garage exile, I had it down to a science. Wake up at 5 a.m., shower before anyone else was awake, grab whatever leftovers were in the fridge, and get to school early to use the library computers for coding practice. After school, I worked at Mel's diner until closing. The pay was garbage, but it kept me away from home and gave me enough money to buy actual food instead of surviving on whatever Mum remembered to leave me. "You look tired, honey," Mel said one Thursday night as I wiped down tables. "Everything okay at home?" "Just busy with school," I lied. She nodded, but I could tell she didn't buy it. Mel had been running this place for 20 years. She could spot family drama from across the restaurant. When I got home that night, the house was dark except for the glow coming from my old bedroom window. I could hear Maximus playing video games, probably on the new gaming setup Mum had bought him last week. I slipped into the garage and pulled out my laptop. While it booted up, I checked my phone. 3 missed calls from school. Weird. The voicemail made my stomach drop. "Hi, this is Mrs. Peterson from the guidance office. We need to discuss Yolanda's college applications. There seems to be some confusion about her transcript requests." College applications. The ones I'd been working on in secret for months. I called back, even though it was past business hours. "Mrs. Peterson, this is Yolanda. I got your message." "Oh, good. I was hoping to reach you. Your mother called today and said you wouldn't be needing those transcript requests after all. She said you decided not to apply to college this year." My blood went cold. "She said what?" "She mentioned you were taking a gap year to help support your brother's education. Very noble of you." "Noble, right. Mrs. Peterson, I never said that. I need those transcripts sent out. My applications are due next week." There was a pause. "Well, this is awkward. Your mother was very clear. She said the family had discussed it and decided it would be better if you waited." "The family discussed it without me?" Perhaps you should talk to your parents about this." I hung up and stared at my laptop screen. My college essay was still open in a Word document, Overcoming Adversity Through Technology. I'd written about teaching myself to code, about finding opportunity in isolation. Apparently, I wouldn't be needing it. The garage door connecting to the house opened, and Mum walked in wearing her bathrobe. "We need to talk," she said. "Yeah, we do." "What did you tell Mrs. Peterson?" Mum crossed her arms. "I told her the truth. College is expensive, and Maximus needs to focus on his future right now." "What about my future?" "You're smart, Yolanda. You'll figure something out. But Max has real potential. He's been accepted to that summer business program in Europe. The one that costs $15,000. It's an investment." I laughed, but there was no humour in it. "An investment in the kid who's failing 3 classes? He's going through a rough patch. The program will help him mature." "And what about me? I have a 4.2 GPA. I've been accepted to..." "You've been accepted where?" Mum's voice sharpened. I realised my mistake too late. I applied to a few schools." "Without telling us?" "I didn't think I needed permission to try to better myself." Mum's face hardened. "This family makes decisions together, Yolanda. You can't just go off and do whatever you want, like you did when you moved me to the garage. That was different. That was for the good of the family." I stared at her. "Whose family?" "Because I'm starting to think I'm not actually part of it." She turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Your friend Reese stopped by today. She thinks you need to learn what it means to be supportive. Real women lift up the men in their family instead of competing with them." "Reese said that?" "She's right. Maybe this year off will teach you some humility." After she left, I sat in the dark for a long time. Then I opened my laptop and started searching for something I'd bookmarked weeks ago. A TED Talk by a woman named Lara Santiago about building wealth from nothing. I'd watched it 5 times already. She was sharp, ruthless, and had started with less than I had. At the end of her talk, she'd said something that stuck with me. The best revenge is massive success. But first, you have to stop asking permission to want more. I found her company website and clicked on the contact page. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a full minute before I started typing. Ms. Santiago, my name is Yolanda. I'm 17, sleeping in a garage, and my family just sabotaged my college applications. I've been teaching myself to code, and I think I have an idea that could work. I don't need money or connections. I just need someone to tell me I'm not crazy for thinking I can do this alone. I hit send before I could change my mind. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed with an email notification. The message was short. You don't owe them anything. Call me. LS. Below that was a phone number. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned, then saved the number in my contacts. For the first time in months, I smiled. I called Lara at exactly 6 a.m. the next morning, figuring a successful businesswoman would be up early. You're punctual, she said instead of hello. Good. Tell me about this idea. Predictive analytics for real estate investment, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Using machine learning to identify undervalued properties before they hit the market. Everyone's trying to do that. Not like this. I'm talking about scraping public records, building permits, school district data, even social media sentiment analysis for neighbourhoods. Most platforms only look at historical sales data. There was silence on the other end. Then, how old did you say you were? 17, 18 in 3 months. And you're living in a garage. For now. Pack a bag. I'm sending you a bus ticket to Portland. We'll talk in person. I can't just leave. I have school and... Do you want to keep making excuses? Or do you want to change your life? I looked around the garage, at the space heater that had died again overnight, at the stack of college applications I'd never get to send. Send the ticket. 2 weeks later, I was standing in Lara's downtown office, trying not to gawk at the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. You're smaller than I expected, she said, not looking up from her laptop. Sorry? Don't apologise, it's an advantage. People underestimate small women, use it. She finally looked at me. Lara was maybe 40, with silver-streaked hair pulled back severely, and the kind of sharp suit that probably cost more than my family's monthly rent. Show me what you've built so far. I opened my laptop and pulled up the prototype I'd been working on. It was rough, but functional. A dashboard that pulled data from dozens of sources and generated investment scores for properties. Lara studied the screen for 10 minutes without saying a word. Then, this is good. Raw, but good. You need better data sources, and the UI looks like it was designed by a drunk teenager, but the core algorithm is solid. So, you'll help me? I'll do better than that. I'll give you a job. $15 an hour, plus housing. You'll work on this project and help with my other investments. But there are rules. Okay. First, you disappear. New city, new identity if necessary. Your family doesn't get to know where you are or what you're doing until you're ready. They won't care. They will when you start making money. Trust me. She handed me a key. Apartments furnished. Basic, but clean. You start Monday. I stared at the key. Just like that? Just like that. Unless you'd rather go back to the garage. That night, I sat in my new studio apartment, tiny but warm with actual heat that worked, and called home. Mum answered on the 4th ring. Where are you? You missed dinner. I'm not coming home. What do you mean? I mean, I'm 18 now and I'm leaving. I got a job in Portland. There was a pause. Portland? Yolanda, don't be ridiculous. You can't just run away. I'm not running away, I'm moving out. You don't have any money, you don't have anywhere to go. Actually, I do. This is about college, isn't it? Fine, we can discuss it when you get home. There's nothing to discuss. I'm done. I heard her talking to someone in the background. Probably Maximus. Your brother wants to talk to you. Before I could say no, Maximus was on the phone. Yo, what's this about Portland? You trying to be all dramatic? I'm trying to build a life. He laughed. Doing what? You gonna be a barista? Have fun starving. He hung up. I stared at my phone for a minute, then blocked both their numbers. The next morning, I walked into a tech boot camp Lara had enrolled me in. The instructor, a guy about my age with kind eyes and calloused hands, was setting up laptops. You must be Yolanda, he said. I'm Zayden. Lara said you're working on something interesting. Trying to. Cool. What's your background? Garage. He looked confused. Garage startup? Like Google? No, I mean, I literally lived in a garage, taught myself everything from library books. His expression shifted. Oh, damn. Well, you're here now. Yeah. Family situation? Complicated. Same. He handed me a laptop. My mum kicked me out when I was 16, said I was too weird for the family image. What did you do? Learned to code, built something that mattered, made enough money that she calls me every Christmas now, pretending we're close. Do you answer? Hell no. He grinned. But I send her a Christmas card every year, just a photo of my bank statement. I laughed for the first time in months. We're going to get along just fine, Zayden said. 6 months later, I was watching the local news in my apartment when a familiar face appeared on screen. The headline read, Local entrepreneur involved in cryptocurrency collapse. There was Maximus, in a suit that didn't fit right, being led away from some fancy office building. The reporter was talking about failed NFT investments and missing investor funds. I turned up the volume. Maximus Bond, president of CryptoMax Solutions, is facing federal charges after his company's collapse left dozens of investors with significant losses. I grabbed my phone and called Lara. Did you see the news? I did. Interesting timing. What do you mean? Your little brother just made this personal. Time to accelerate our timeline. Our timeline for what? Going home. 10 years later, I was sitting in my Tesla in the driveway of a $2.3 million mansion, watching my mother and brother argue through the kitchen window of the rental house next door, the rental house that I now owned. The security system's working perfectly, Zayden said through my earpiece. Audio's crystal clear. I adjusted the tablet on my dashboard. The screen showed multiple camera angles of their cramped kitchen, where Mum was waving a stack of bills at Maximus. Told you this would happen, she was saying. I told you not to put the house up as collateral. It was a sure thing, Mum. The crypto market just had a temporary dip. Temporary? It's been 3 years. We're living in a rental that costs more than our mortgage used to. I smiled. The rental that I'd specifically chosen for them was overpriced and under-maintained. The landlord, me, through an LLC, had been very accommodating when they'd applied, despite their destroyed credit. Any regrets? Zayden asked. About buying the house next door to spy on them? None. About any of it. I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Designer clothes, professional makeup, hair that cost more to maintain than they spent on groceries. My company, YB Analytics, was valued at $320 million as of last quarter. Ask me again in a few days. Through the window, I watched Maximus throw his hands up and storm out of the kitchen. Mum sat down at their tiny table and put her head in her hands. My phone buzzed. A text from my assistant. Black envelopes delivered as requested. Both recipients confirmed. Perfect timing. I drove back to my house and pulled into the circular driveway. The mansion was ridiculous. 8 bedrooms, a wine cellar, a home theatre. But I'd bought it specifically because it was visible from their kitchen window. Every morning, they got to see what success looked like. Lara was waiting in my living room, scrolling through her phone. "How'd they take the eviction?" she asked without looking up. "About as well as you'd expect. Lots of yelling, lots of blame." "And the new place?" "They love it. Or they did, until they realised they can't afford it long term." Lara finally looked at me. "You know this is insane, right? You're the one who taught me that revenge is a dish best served with compound interest." "I said success was the best revenge. This is something else." I poured myself a glass of wine from a bottle that cost more than their monthly rent. "They destroyed my college applications. They stole my savings account to fund his business ventures. They told everyone I was a failure who ran away to be a waitress. And now they're about to find out who their mysterious new benefactor really is." The next evening, I watched through the security cameras as Mom and Maximus got dressed for the legacy mixer invitation I'd sent them. Mom had bought a new dress, probably with money she didn't have, and Maximus was wearing a suit that looked suspiciously expensive for someone who was supposedly broke. They arrived at my house at exactly 7 p.m, looking nervous but excited. I watched them through the foyer camera as they stared at the marble floors and crystal chandelier. "Holy shit," Maximus whispered. "Language," Mom hissed, but she was gawking too. I made them wait in the foyer for exactly 10 minutes before making my entrance. I'd chosen my outfit carefully. Black designer dress, heels that put me at eye level with Maximus, in jewellery that caught the light just right. "Welcome," I said, walking down the curved staircase like I was in a movie. "Thank you for coming." They both smiled politely, clearly not recognising me. 10 years, professional styling, and confidence could change a person completely. "I'm Sadie," Mum said, extending her hand. "This is my son Maximus. We're so grateful for the invitation, Ms. Bond," I said, taking her hand. "Yolanda Bond." I watched their faces carefully. Mum's smile faltered first, confusion flickering across her features. Maximus took a few seconds longer, his brain clearly struggling to connect the successful woman in front of him with the garage girl he remembered. "I'm sorry," Mum said slowly. "Did you say Bond?" "I did." Maximus stepped forward, squinting at me like I was a mirage. "Yolanda?" "Hello, Max." The colour drained from both their faces. Mum's hand flew to her chest like she was having a heart attack. That's not possible," she stammered. "You're a waitress. You ran away to Portland to be a waitress." "Did I?" I smiled. Funny how stories change over time. Maximus was staring at me like I'd risen from the dead. "What the hell is this?" "This is my home. Would you like a tour?" I led them through the house slowly, letting them take in every detail. The home office with its wall of monitors showing real-time market data. The library filled with first edition business books. The dining room with its table that seated 12, and art that cost more than most people's houses. "How?" Mum kept asking. "How is this possible?" "Hard work, smart investments, the kind of potential you said I didn't have." We ended up in the main hallway, where I'd had a marble plaque installed just for this occasion. It was mounted at eye level, impossible to miss. Yolanda, Bond founder and CEO, YB Analytics. Mum stared at it like it was written in a foreign language. The wine glass in her hand started to shake. Maximus went completely white. "This is some kind of joke." I raised my own glass, filled with wine that cost more per bottle than they'd spent on my 17th birthday. "Welcome home," I said. Mom's glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. "Don't worry about the glass," I said, stepping around the shards. "The cleaning service will handle it." Mom was still staring at the plaque like it might disappear if she blinked hard enough. "Cleaning service?" "Twice a week. Would you like to sit down? You look pale." I guided them to the formal dining room, where I'd already had dinner prepared. 3 place settings at one end of a table that could seat 12. The good china, the kind Mum used to talk about buying, someday when we have money. "This is insane," Maximus said, finally finding his voice. You can't just... How did you afford all this? I built a company. You might have heard of it, YB Analytics. We do predictive modelling for real estate investment. That's impossible. You were sleeping in a garage. Yes, I was. Thanks for that, by the way. The catering staff I'd hired for the evening began serving the first course. Mum watched them like they were aliens. You have staff, she whispered, just for tonight. I wanted everything to be perfect for our reunion. Maximus was looking around the room like he was cataloguing everything for later. So what? You got lucky? Hit it big with some tech thing? Lucky, I cut into my salmon. Is that what you call 10 years of 18-hour days? Come on, Yolanda, Mum said, her voice taking on that familiar, patronising tone. We know you. You were always so dramatic. This has to be some kind of mistake. What kind of mistake? Maybe you married someone rich? Or you're renting this place to impress us? I laughed. Actually, laughed. Mum, do you see a husband anywhere? And why would I need to impress you? Because we're family, she said, like that explained everything. Are we? The question hung in the air. Maximus shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Of course we are, Mum continued, and families forgive each other. We all made mistakes when you were younger. Mistakes? I set down my fork. Is that what we're calling it? You have to understand, we were doing our best. Raising children is hard, and we thought... You thought what? That I didn't deserve a bedroom. That I didn't deserve college. That I didn't deserve basic human decency. We were trying to teach you independence. By stealing my college fund. The room went dead silent. Mum's face went white. Maximus suddenly became very interested in his plate. I don't know what you're talking about, Mum said. I pulled out my phone and opened a folder I'd labelled Evidence. Bank records from 2014, my savings account, the one I'd been contributing to since I was 14. Balance on January 1st, $3,147. Balance on March 15th, right before Maximus's spring break trip to Europe. 0. That money was for the family, Mum said weakly. It was my money from my job at the diner. We needed it for Max's educational opportunities. Educational opportunities? I scrolled through more files. You mean the trip where he got arrested for public intoxication and banned from 3 hotels? Maximus finally looked up. How do you know about that? I know about a lot of things, like how you've been telling people I abandoned the family, how you've been playing the victim, poor Maximus, whose mean sister ran away and left him to take care of Mom. I never said that. I pulled up a screenshot from his Facebook page. Quote, some people abandon their family when things get tough. Real men step up. Posted 2 years ago with a picture of you and Mum at some charity event. That wasn't about you. It was posted on my birthday, Max. He had the decency to look embarrassed. Look, Mum said, reaching across the table toward me. We can work this out. We're family. We stick together. I moved my hand away from hers. Where was that family loyalty when I was coughing up blood in the garage? You were never coughing up blood. I pulled up another file on my phone. Emergency room records from December 2014. Pneumonia. Caused by prolonged exposure to cold and damp conditions. The doctor asked if I was homeless. We didn't know you were sick. I told you. You said I was being dramatic. The second course arrived. None of us touched it. Okay, Maximus said, leaning back in his chair. So, you're successful now. Good for you. What do you want from us? An apology? Do you think you owe me one? I think you're being petty. We were kids, Yolanda. Kids make mistakes. You were 16. old enough to know right from wrong. And you're 28 now, old enough to get over it. I smiled. You're right, I am over it. Good. So we can move past this, and I'm over needing your approval. I'm over wanting your love. I'm over pretending we're a family. Mum's eyes filled with tears. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. We love you, she said. We've always loved you. You have a funny way of showing it. Maximus slammed his napkin on the table. You know what? Fine. You want to play the victim? Go ahead. But don't think this changes anything. What's that supposed to mean? He stood up, his face flushed with anger. You think we ever needed you? You think we spent the last 10 years missing you? We didn't. We moved on. We built a life without you. How's that working out for you? Better than you think. And you know what? No matter how much money you have, no matter how big this house is, you're still the same bitter, angry girl who couldn't handle a little adversity. I stood up too, meeting his glare. And you're still the same spoiled, entitled brat who thinks the world owes him everything. At least I didn't abandon my family. No, you just destroyed it instead. He stepped toward me, his hands clenched into fists. You think we ever needed you? Watch what happens next. The threat hung in the air between us. Is that a challenge? I asked. It's a promise. Sit down, Max, I said calmly. We're not done eating. I'm done with this whole charade. No, you're not. I pressed a button on my phone. The dining room's smart display descended from the ceiling. Because we haven't gotten to the best part yet. The screen lit up with a photo of a handwritten letter. My handwriting, shaky and desperate. December 15th, 2014, I read aloud. Dear Mom, I know you said I was being dramatic about being sick, but I think something's really wrong. I've been coughing up blood for 3 days and I can barely breathe. Could you please take me to the doctor? I promise I'll pay you back for my diner money. Mum stared at the screen. Where did you get that? I kept everything. Every letter I wrote you that you ignored. Every text you never answered. I clicked to the next image. Your response, texted 2 hours later. Stop being such a baby. Take some cough drops. I don't remember that. I do. I remember all of it. Click. Next image. Here's the hospital bill. 2,147 for emergency pneumonia treatment. Guess who paid it? Maximus sat back down, but his jaw was still clenched. So you were sick. That sucks. But we didn't know how serious it was. Because you didn't want to know. Click. Here's a recording from Christmas morning, 2014. I spent 6 hours making breakfast for the family while running a fever. Want to hear what you said when I asked if I could sit down? I pressed play. Maximus's teenage voice filled the room. God, Yolanda, stop being so lazy. It's Christmas. The least you can do is make yourself useful. Turn it off, Mum whispered. We're just getting started. Click. Here's my college acceptance letter to Portland State. Full academic scholarship, dated January 3rd, 2015. Mum's face went ashen. You never told us about that. Because you'd already made it clear I wasn't going to college. Remember? The family decided it would be better if I waited. We needed Max to have his opportunities first. His opportunities. I clicked to a new folder. Let's talk about Max's opportunities. Here's his transcript from senior year. 2 Fs, 3 Ds, and a C- in gym. Those grades don't matter, Maximus said. I was focused on bigger things. Like what? Your cryptocurrency venture. Click. Here's the SEC filing from your company's collapse. Turns out you weren't just bad at school. You were bad at business too. That was a market downturn. It wasn't my fault. Really? Because according to this forensic accounting report, You spent investor money on a Tesla, a Rolex, and a 2-week vacation in Dubai. Maximus' face went red. How did you get that? I bought the report from the bankruptcy trustee. Public record. Mom was staring at her son like she'd never seen him before. Max, you told us the company failed because of market manipulation. It did. No, I said, clicking to the next document. It failed because you embezzled $180,000 in investor funds. The FBI is still investigating. You're lying. Am I? I turned the screen toward them. Here's the federal indictment, filed last month. You're looking at 5 to 10 years max. The room was dead silent except for the sound of Mum's shallow breathing. But here's my favourite part, I continued. The part where you tried to blame me for your failures. Click. This is from your deposition with the SEC. Quote, my sister abandoned the family when I was young, which caused significant emotional trauma that affected my decision-making abilities. That's not what I meant. You literally blamed your criminal behaviour on me leaving home. I was trying to explain the circumstances. The circumstances where you stole money from investors and spent it on luxury goods. Maximus stood up again. You don't understand the pressure I was under. The pressure of what? Being handed everything you ever wanted. Being the man of the family, taking care of Mum after you left. Taking care of her with whose money? Click. Because according to these bank records, Mum's been supporting you for the last 3 years. Her social security checks, her part-time job at the grocery store, all going to pay your legal fees. Mum's voice was barely a whisper. Max, you told me those were business expenses. They were. Legal fees are business expenses. Legal fees for your criminal defense, I clarified. My phone buzzed. A text from Zayden. You sure about this? There's no coming back from here. I looked at my mother, sitting there in her discount dress, looking older and smaller than I remembered. At my brother, sweating in his expensive suit that he'd probably bought with stolen money. You know what the funny thing is? I said. I used to lie awake in that garage, dreaming about this moment, about proving you wrong, about showing you what you'd thrown away. And now? Mom asked. Now I realize you didn't throw anything away. You never valued me in the first place. That's not true. Isn't it? When's my birthday, Mom? She opened her mouth, then closed it. It's okay, I'll wait. 30 seconds passed. Then a minute. October, she finally guessed. March 15th. I'm 28 years old and my mother doesn't know when I was born. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For what? For not knowing my birthday? For stealing my college fund? For letting me get pneumonia in your garage? For choosing him over me every single day of my life? For all of it? I stood up and walked to the window overlooking their rental house. Do you know what I see when I look over there? What? Justice. Yolanda, Mum said, we can fix this. We can be a family again. I turned back to them. No, we can't, because we never were one. 3 weeks later, I was in my home office when Zayden called. Your brother's making his move, he said. My contact at CyberSec just flagged an attempted breach on our servers. I pulled up the security logs on my screen. Let me guess. The attack originated from an IP address registered to someone named Marcus Thompson? How did you... Because Max isn't as smart as he thinks he is. Marcus Thompson was his Xbox gamertag in high school. Should I be worried? I laughed. About Max? He's using a 10-year-old laptop and free hacking tools he downloaded from YouTube. Our intern could stop him with one hand tied behind her back. So, what's the play? Let him think he's getting somewhere, then we spring the trap. I'd been expecting this. Max had always been predictable. When cornered, he lashed out. When he couldn't win fairly, he cheated. When he couldn't cheat successfully, he threw tantrums. My phone rang. Unknown number. Yolanda? It was Mum, her voice shaky. We need to talk. Do we? Max is... He's talking about doing something to your company. Something bad. I think you should know. I already know. He's been trying to hack my servers for 3 days. He what? Did you think I wouldn't notice? I've been tracking his every move since he left my house. There was a long pause. Can you stop him? I already have. The question is what I do about it. Please don't hurt him. He's still my son, and I was still your daughter. Did that stop you from hurting me? She started crying. I know I failed you. I know I was a terrible mother, but please don't destroy him. I'm not destroying him, Mum. He's destroying himself. I'm just documenting it. I hung up and called my lawyer. Janet, it's Yolanda. I need you to file a restraining order against my brother and prepare a civil suit for attempted corporate espionage. How much damage did he do? None. But that's not the point. The next morning, I held a press conference. Local news, tech blogs, business journals. I'd invited them all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I'm here to announce YB Analytics' newest initiative, the Phoenix Housing Project. I clicked to the first slide of my presentation. We're investing $50 million in affordable housing development, with a focus on communities that have been historically underserved. The reporters started taking notes. Our first development will be built on a 12-acre site in the Riverside district, where I grew up. We'll be demolishing the existing structures to make way for a 100-unit complex, featuring mental health services, job training programs, and community gardens. A reporter raised her hand. What's the timeline for this project? Groundbreaking begins next month. The first families should be able to move in by next Christmas. And the existing residents of those properties will be relocated to comparable housing at our expense, of course. What I didn't mention was that the existing structures included the house where I'd grown up, the house where I'd been banished to the garage, the house that was now owned by my LLC and currently occupied by exactly 2 tenants. After the press conference, I drove to the rental house. Mom and Max were standing in the front yard with a man in a cheap suit, Elliot, the property manager I'd hired to deliver the news. 30 days to vacate, Elliot was saying. The new owners are planning a major renovation. 30 days? Mum's voice was shrill. We just signed a 2-year lease. The lease has a demolition clause, Mum. It's all in the fine print. I rolled down my window. Is there a problem here? Elliot turned toward my car. Oh, Miss Bond. Perfect timing. I was just explaining the situation to your tenants. My tenants? Mum stared at me. You're the landlord? Through an LLC, yes. Didn't I mention that? Max stepped forward, his face purple with rage. You bought our house just to kick us out? I bought your house because it was a good investment. The fact that you're living in it is just a coincidence. This is insane. You can't do this. Actually, I can. It's called capitalism, Max. You should try it sometime. Elliot cleared his throat. There is some good news. The company has arranged temporary housing for displaced tenants. Where? Mum asked. Elliot handed her a key. 1247 Elm Street. It's furnished, utilities included. I watched Mum's face as she read the address. The colour drained from her cheeks. That's our old house. The garage apartment, specifically, Elliot clarified. It's been converted into a studio. Very cosy. Max snatched the key from Mum's hand. The garage? You're putting us in the fucking garage? Language, Max, I said. And yes, it's got everything you need. A bed, a mini fridge, a space heater, just like old times. I won't do it. I won't live in a garage. That's your choice, but you have 30 days to decide. I started to drive away. then stopped and rolled the window back down. "Oh, and Max, that little hacking attempt last week. My lawyers will be in touch. Attempted corporate espionage is a federal crime." "You can't prove anything." I held up my phone, showing a screenshot of his IP logs. "Actually, I can prove everything. Every keystroke, every failed password attempt, every pathetic little script you tried to run. It's all documented." You were just, what? Trying to destroy my company because you couldn't handle being shown up by your little sister? "I wasn't trying to destroy anything. I was just looking around secure servers that don't belong to you. That's called hacking, Max, and it carries a 5-year prison sentence." Mum grabbed his arm. "Max, stop talking." "No, let him keep going," I said. "I'm recording this conversation. My lawyers love it when criminals confess." Max's mouth snapped shut. "Smart choice. You always were better at keeping your mouth shut than using your brain." I drove away, leaving them standing in the yard, with their eviction notice and their new garage key. In my rearview mirror, I watched Mum sink down onto the front steps, her head in her hands. Max was still standing there, staring after my car with pure hatred in his eyes. Perfect. I was sitting on my balcony with my morning coffee when Zayden called. "Have you seen the news?" "Which news?" "Channel 7. They're doing a follow-up story on the Phoenix housing project." I grabbed my tablet and pulled up the live stream. The reporter was standing in front of the construction site that used to be my childhood home. Controversy surrounding the project after an anonymous blog post went viral, detailing alleged family abuse and neglect that took place on this very property. My coffee went cold in my hands. The post, titled "The Garage Girl's Revenge," has been shared over 2 million times and sparked a national conversation about family dysfunction and economic inequality. The screen cut to an interview with a woman I didn't recognise at first. Then I realised it was Reese, Mom's old friend, looking haggard and defensive. "I never encouraged Sadie to treat Yolanda badly," she was saying. "That's completely false. I barely knew the family. But according to the blog post, you specifically told Yolanda that real women support the men in their family instead of competing with them." That's taken out of context. The reporter's voice continued over footage of the construction site. "Attempts to reach Sadie and Maximus Bond for comment have been unsuccessful. Neighbours report they've been living in a converted garage apartment since their eviction last month." I turned off the tablet and called Zayden back. "I didn't write that blog post," I said. "I know. But someone did. Someone with access to a lot of inside information." "Any idea who?" "Check your email." I opened my laptop. There was a message from an address I didn't recognise. Garage Girl, Petitune 24@protonmail.com. "I wrote it," the email said. "I'm 17, and I've been living in my parents' garage for 8 months. Your story gave me hope that I could get out too. I found all the details about your family in public records and news articles. I hope you don't mind that I shared it. The world needed to know. A fellow garage girl." I stared at the screen for a long time. "Yolanda?" Zayden's voice came through the phone. "You still there?" "Yeah, I'm here." "How do you feel about this?" "I don't know yet." My doorbell rang. I walked downstairs and checked the security monitor. It was Lara holding a newspaper. "We need to talk," she said when I opened the door. She followed me to the kitchen and spread the newspaper on the counter. The headline read, "Tech CEO's family revenge story goes viral." "This is what you wanted, isn't it?" she asked. "I wanted justice. And now you have it. Your mother's been fired from her grocery store job. Your brother's facing federal charges. They're living in a garage just like you did. So why don't you look happy?" I poured her a cup of coffee. "Because it doesn't feel like justice. It feels like math." "What's the difference?" Justice would be them understanding what they did wrong. This is just symmetry. Lara studied my face. You know what I think? What? I think you're finally ready to let go. Let go of what? The anger, the need for revenge, the part of you that's still 17 years old and sleeping in a garage. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Please, can we talk? Mom. I showed Lara the message. What are you going to do? She asked. I don't know. Yes, you do. I walked back out to the balcony and looked across at the construction site. Workers were pouring concrete for the foundation of the new housing complex. In a few months, there would be apartments there for families who needed them, kids who might otherwise end up sleeping in garages. I called the number Mum had texted from. Yolanda? Her voice was small, defeated. I'm here. I read the blog post. The whole world knows what we did to you. Good. I lost my job. Max's lawyer says he'll probably go to prison. We don't have anywhere to go. You have the garage. It's cold. There's no heat. The space heater doesn't work. I almost smiled. Ames. Sounds familiar. I know I don't deserve to ask, but could you help us? Just until we get back on our feet? Help you how? Maybe we could stay in one of your other properties? I could work for you, clean your house, anything. I can't live like this anymore. I looked out at the city skyline, at the empire I'd built from nothing. Mom? Yes? Do you know what day it is? There was a pause. Wednesday? It's March 15th, my birthday. Silence. I'm 29 today, and for the first time in my life, I don't need anything from you. Yolanda, please. The garage apartment lease is paid through the end of the year. After that, you're on your own. But we can't survive on our own. We need help. Then, you should have thought of that before you decided I wasn't worth helping. I hung up and deleted her number. Lara was standing in the doorway behind me. Feel better? No, but I feel finished. Good. Now what? I walked to my laptop and opened the folder labelled Family. Inside were hundreds of files. Photos, documents, recordings, bank statements. 10 years of evidence, carefully collected and organised. I selected all of them and hit delete. Now, I build something that matters, I said. The deletion confirmation box popped up. Are you sure you want to permanently delete 847 items? I clicked yes. The files disappeared, and with them, the last pieces of the girl who used to sleep in a garage, dreaming of revenge. I opened a new document and started typing. The Phoenix Housing Project will be accepting applications next month. Priority will be given to young people aging out of foster care, victims of family abuse, and anyone who has ever had to sleep somewhere they didn't belong. I paused, then added, no one should have to earn their right to be warm. My phone rang. Zayden. Happy birthday, he said. Want to grab dinner? I know a place that serves cake. I looked out at the construction site one more time, then closed the laptop. Yeah, I said. Let's go. As I walked toward the door, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. The girl staring back at me looked nothing like the 17-year-old who used to shiver in a garage, reading coding books by flashlight. She looked free.